Hi, I'm Linda Brubaker, and this is Lunch and Learn. This is a job seekers group, and we're here to answer your questions and to provide some additional information to help your job search get moving in the right direction. Today, we're actually going to be talking about answering the dreaded question, you're overqualified or you're underqualified, and how do you deal with it? But before we do that, I'm going to tell you just a little bit about me. I'm a job search coach, and I've been a dedicated job search coach for the last 6 years. What I love about this is the ability to be able to support you in whatever spot in that job search that you're in. I've helped well over 800 people get offers so far this in the time that I've been doing this. And I'm excited to be able to help you too. So I do these lunch and learn sessions every week. These sessions are always free, open to any job seeker. So please share the word. But I also do private one-on-one coaching as well to help you with individual aspects of your job search. And I actually got an email this morning. It was great to wake up to 2 different people that I'd been working with told me that they just got offers. So that's a great way for me to start the day. All right, that's me. Let's get started on this lunch and learn session. You notice that the chat is open. Please go ahead and include your information. Connect with one another. One of the reasons that I'm so adamant about that idea of connecting and putting your LinkedIn URLs in the chat is that for many of us who have free accounts, and if you have a free account, go ahead and raise your hand. Okay. So a lot of us still do. And I admit that I'm one of them, although I also admit that for the very first time since I joined LinkedIn in 2007, okay, I'm actually thinking about having to move to a paid account. If I do that, I will let you all know, and I'll let you know why. But the reason that I'm really encouraging you to put your LinkedIn URLs in the chat and to connect with one another today based on those URLs is that for free accounts, LinkedIn has limited the number of connection messages you can send. I agree with you, Dean. It's terrible. We're still fighting against it. We got it removed for a little while, but LinkedIn reinstituted it. So if you have a free account, you have anything from 5 to 15 free LinkedIn messages that you can send a month. LinkedIn is rolling it out. For whatever reason, not everybody has the same limitation. I have 5. If I go beyond 5, they're telling me I need to have a paid account. So if you and I are together, we're doing these, I'm not going to send you a connection request with a message. Okay, I'm just going to send you the connection request and hopefully you'll know who I am. But by doing it from this chat, you all already have something in common. And that means that you can send that connection message, that connection request without a message to go along with it. Don't waste one of those messages on the rest of us. The other thing that's important to know in terms of being able to send those connection requests is that if you are a member of a group with someone else, Lunch and Learn with Linda, you can send a message to that person asking if they want to connect, and it won't work against your connection message limitations. It's another great way of making sure that you can connect with people and that you know that you have something in common. So please do put your LinkedIn URL in the chat. Include additional information about what it is you're looking for. What we're looking for is a little bit about some potential job titles, locations, so that when we do some networking with you, if we have ideas for you, we know how to send them your way. Okay, great. All right, Kirk, your hand is up. Is that because you have a question or because you were telling me you have a free account?
It's because I was answering your question before to raise a hand and I forgot to put it down.
It's not a problem. Okay. I do look at those raised hands, by the way. So if you have questions, we're a group that really does, okay, do a lot of this work. We're a very informal group. And as a result, what we're trying to do is make sure that everybody gets the opportunity to ask their questions as they go along. So if you have a question, just raise your hand I will try and see it and make sure that it gets answered. Okay. Overqualified, underqualified, just right. So what kinds of jobs are you all applying for? Anybody applying for jobs that you're waiting to apply for jobs that are just in your sweet spot? If you're applying for jobs just in your sweet spot, put it in the chat right now. Say me. Sweet spot only. Just, okay. Let's see what they're looking for. Okay. Seeing some of you put that in. Okay. Sweet spot only. So sweet spot only is a great way of applying for jobs, but I'm going to say sweet spot is a great idea, but not sweet spot only. If the job that you're applying for is exactly like the one you're doing now or have just done, yes, it's an easy transfer, but by the same token, you're not learning anything. A lot of us are concerned because we're applying for those that are just like we can do, right? We know we're a perfect match and we're still not getting called. Anybody in that kind of a situation? Okay. So Tiffany, what are you seeing?
I think I'm, doing that sweet spot, but also maybe under because I fear, and I haven't gotten any callbacks. I was just recently laid off on Monday, but I've been applying places all summer. So it's been discouraging, but I think I'm fearful to apply to anything higher level because so that would be like a manager position within my industry. Who would train me? I just feel like I know which areas I need improvement on, and I know those roles would need those skills. So I'd feel really silly applying for that, being in the role, and then I don't know how to do that basic skill.
And I understand that. Anybody else in the same boat? Okay. So those are still jobs that you can and should apply for. Okay. So Kirk, you also had your hand up.
Yes, I did. So I've been in IT for about 30 years and started out in sales. Did that for about 6 years and then moved over into engineering. And today I'm a IT infrastructure manager. Uh, Aspiration was that I would hit director level, but I think what I've done is stagnated at the company I'm with. I've been here for 16 years. And in some ways, it feels like career suicide. You get complacent. And um, what I've found through this whole pandemic, post-pandemic thing is things have really changed. And a lot of people have got burnt out and decided to leave their jobs and what they've been doing because they find that they're not happy doing it. My situation is a little different. I'm actually divorced, and I think I did everything that I did in my career mostly for my ex-wife because it was her comfort level. My aspiration when I was younger was to be a police officer, and I did that part-time when our marriage was falling apart. I was going to pursue that at a later age, and I faced the same thing then. Um, Police officers have an age requirement here in Illinois, and when you hit 34, that's it. You can't get hired because they want you to be on the force for 20 years to get a full pension. And they shoot for a 55 or around that vicinity retirement age. So they use it for convenience of age discrimination. And what I feel now is that my resume kind of speaks of my age, and that could be leading to some discriminatory practices as well. And at this time, I'm looking at making a change from what I'm doing in engineering and management to, unlike Heather, I don't want to take on more responsibility at this stage of my life. Um, it doesn't pay. I have enough to do to manage myself. I don't want to manage 6, 7, 8 other people and be responsible for them at this point. So I've been looking at jobs that would be like back in the sales oriented environment. They call them customer success managers.
Right.
And in a lot of cases, I've hit the fence where I'm being told, well, you're overqualified for this position, or you just get the email that says, oh, we've decided to move on without your candidacy. So, I'm really interested in trying to circumvent those excuses or those replies that you get from the hiring representative of those organizations. It's hard, it's difficult, and I'm trying to spin that, and it's like people. I mean, I'm sure that the hiring people realize that people are burnt out and they're looking to make change. And yeah, I might be overqualified by what's on my resume, but I do have the talents that you need for this position, especially in a customer success manager role. And I feel that it's an asset, mostly because, I was in sales. And now that I've been on the engineering side of it, the customer side of it, I know what I've purchased that I haven't used from subscriptions and things like that for certain positions in customer success, that going back to the customer on the selling side of it and making sure that they're using the product that they purchased. And there's talent there that I'm trying to figure out how these hiring people are using the information you provide them against you.
So I'm not sure that I'd say using it against you, but here's a sad fact. It used to be that when you put your information out there, you would expect somebody to read through it and figure out how you fit their role, to read between the lines. It honestly doesn't work that way anymore, and it hasn't probably for at least the last 6 or 7 years, and it's getting tougher. Unless you make it easy for what, forgive me, I call the dummy on my side of the desk or the screen, to figure out how you fit my role, just my role, not any role, but my role, I'm more likely to put your resume on the bottom of the pile. That doesn't mean I won't get to it, but it means I may not get to it first. You have 2 to 9 seconds to grab my attention with your resume. That's not a whole lot of time. So in that top part of your resume, it's really up to you to quickly demonstrate how you fit my role, not any role, my role. And
that's a good point, because I was going to bring up the 2 to 9 second rule. And you can't really give a person 2 to 9 seconds. If you just start looking at a paragraph on a page and start reading it, how far in that paragraph are you getting in 2 to 9 seconds? So you really have to do something, flashy and, modern with your resume to get their attention so that they look at it. But if they're really using 2 to 9 seconds, are they even going to get through the bottom of that first page of a very, very bleak resume?
probably
And I've
not.
had situations where I sat and spent hours. I mean, I can't tell you how many hours revising my resume so that I got it down to like 1 page, so that basically it would fall into that 2 to 9 second rule. And then they come back to me and ask me for a more detailed resume later on down the road. And they say, "Can you give me something that has more detail to it?" And you give it to them, and it's like, it's the full one that you had started out with. And you feel like at that point, like I said, you get the age discrimination factor, because they start looking at the things that you've worked with or your history and the things that you've done. And they just basically go, too old.
Okay, so there's some ways around that. The 2 to 9 second rule means that you have to grab my attention right away. And the best way to do that is to demonstrate at the top of your resume, not in a paragraph. People don't read paragraphs, period. They don't. So you want to be able to highlight at the very top of your resume the skills, keywords, the terms from that particular posting that you have that match that job. I don't want to, if it doesn't match the job, don't include it.
Okay.
Include those at the very top of your resume. And my recommendation is, you mentioned flashy resume. Don't do a flashy resume. I'm reading this online. Sometimes I'm reading it on my phone. All those extra bells and whistles will work against you. Your resume, I know you're trying to make yourself look modern. The best way to do a resume is a standard, straight, old-fashioned, dull, boring, plain Word document. No text boxes, no columns, no colors.
Okay.
Okay. When you're putting in your skills, pull them from the job posting and right up at the top of the page, and then tab them across the page to make them easy for me to read. Those skills should be the hard ones, not the soft ones. Soft ones you demonstrate. And I know I'm a little bit off topic, but it all blends together, right? That whole idea of how do you demonstrate that you are qualified for this particular job and that you want this particular job? If you are overqualified, then being able to highlight just what they're looking for is important. So Tiffany, you mentioned wanting to maybe get into that management role without the experience. Kirk, if you're looking to move away from that management role, you need to focus those resumes differently. So you may not have direct management experience, Tiffany, but you can talk about how you led portions of a project.
It's not so much like manager what you're thinking. So I'm in the CPG industry and like sales strategy. So it's more so like my role now is associate manager. So with being one level above that, it comes with Excel skills within analytics or Nielsen data. So like there's certain ones that I was not able to touch in this role in the past 3 years because it wasn't in my job description. So I would feel dumb if I can't lead other people like with just basic skills that
Okay.
I just have not had.
So here's the rule of thumb. If you match 65 to 70% of what that job is looking for, go ahead and apply. Don't screen yourself out, whether it's overqualified, underqualified, whether you're making that lateral move. I'm really looking for that 65 to 70% match as somebody that I'm going to at least start to look at that resume. So you may not have done those advanced Excel skills. Do you have the experience or the knowledge?
Yep.
Okay, so I don't care. This isn't necessarily, if you're putting those up top, you don't have to have actually used them in this current job.
Mm-hmm.
If you have the knowledge, that's great. If you've taken, for example, if we're talking about the Excel skills, and you've recently taken a refresher course in Excel, then the Excel still goes up top and you're going to add refresher course at the bottom of your resume. So there are lots of ways of highlighting that, and we'll absolutely answer as many of those specific kinds of questions as we can. But the idea is that that sweet spot is that 65 to 70% match for the job. Yes, Joe.
Yeah, Linda, I just wanted to ask, I came across this a few times. Is it appropriate to ask the recruiter or hiring manager what happened to make this position vacant?
Yes, you can, but my question would be why?
Well, that's what I would say. Why is this position vacant?
No.
What happened?
My question, Joe, is why are you asking the question?
Because I want to know. I mean, is it a backfill for a position for someone who's promoted? Is it a sign of a potential layoff coming in? Is it a safe question to ask?
Yes and no. Yes, it's a question that I know you want to get an answer to. But part of that is that it's not necessarily something that I would ask right away unless you're talking to an outside recruiter.
I
Okay,
actually, I was gonna say, I asked that question in one of my interviews, because number one, I have a familiarity with the company that I was actually interviewing with. It was where I worked for in sales many years ago. So I know that manufacturers like HP or IBM or, Cisco, they put forth some funds for that vendor to actually fund a position for this for customer success. And it was basically to be focused on the licensing products that they offered. And I asked the hiring manager, I said, can you tell me a little bit about the position? What makes it available today?
Mhm.
And is this a permanent position, or is it something that's going to be funded? And if HP doesn't like the way that it's going, they pull the funds, I lose my job. I wanted to know what my stability was. So
Yeah, that's my debate because I figure they have the right to ask you questions like, why did you leave your last job? Even to a point where they want to know your salary from your previous job in the pre-screen. I figure what happened to make this position vacant? Because I'm trying to research myself. I don't want to get wrapped up into something. I'm going to get laid off 3 months, 6 months from now. Why do I say that, Kirk? Last year I was laid off 3 times. When you get laid off numerous times in a year, these kind of questions, why is this job empty? Why is it vacant? What happened? Become more important.
And I
oh,
understand that. But it becomes also a question of what is your emphasis? When you ask why that job is vacant too early in the process, unless you're talking to an outside recruiter, rules are different. If you're talking to anybody inside the company, it becomes more a question of your stability. You want a job, any job, not just you want this job. If you're talking to an outside recruiter, that's absolutely an okay question to ask at any point in the process.
Yeah, I do it to the recruiters, and
No,
they
outside,
really don't give me an answer. That's
and
the
they may
thing.
not. Okay. Because again, it is not their emphasis. They want to know that you want this job. If you're talking to an outside recruiter, they want to know that you want this job and you
Yeah.
can do this job because that's the only way they get paid is if they
I'm
make
thinking there
the,
might be legal reasons for it too.
and there may be, Joe. So if that's the case, in my mind, having been the recruiter, the headhunter, the hiring manager, the talent acquisition manager, it's not a question I want to hear early in the process.
Okay.
I want to know that you're focused in on what you can do for me, that you want to do for me. Okay. And I might ask more if later down the road, instead of asking, why is this position open? Although you could ask that question, but I might be interested more in, tell me more about the composition of the team. How long have people been here? Which gives you then the opportunity to rephrase it. You're reframing the question. Okay. It talks about the stability. It talks about potentials for growth. There are lots of other ways of doing it. In addition, if one of the things that you're looking for is that atmosphere, how stable is the position? Do your research on LinkedIn, guys. Check to see who else has held that position recently. Check to see what their tenure has been. You can do all of that. And yes, you can do that with a free account too. But you can do some of that research yourself, which will probably give you a better answer because you'll get an answer that the company may or may not be willing to give. So that's really important too. But let's get back to that whole idea of overqualified, underqualified, making it just there. The one thing you're going to get the sweet spot, right? If you're applying for a job that's in your zone, you know how to answer those kinds of questions, and we'll do that another time. But I'm really concerned more about the questions that you might get if you are feeling that you are overqualified or underqualified for a role. Okay. So let's think about that for a minute. In both cases, overqualified or underqualified, it's truly up to you to make the case up front as to why this is the right job for you. You can say at this point in time if you want to. But you need to make sure that you're telling them that this is a deliberate choice, especially if what you're talking about is the position where you might be overqualified. People want to think that you want this job right now for the right reasons, not just because you need a paycheck. Look, I know you need a paycheck. They know you need a paycheck. But the reason that we're concerned about that and the reason that overqualification issue comes up in a hiring manager or a recruiter's mind is that we want to know that you will be comfortable doing this job, that you will stay doing this job for a period of time, that you're really ready and excited to be able to solve my problem now. Think about it as the reverse of the question, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? They want to know that you see yourself in the next several years doing this job and helping them out. Not that you're using this as the stopgap, you may be, but not that you're using this as the stopgap until the right job comes in. I know some of this, forgive me, LinkedIn gods and recruiting gods, but I know that some of this is just talking. I know that if you're taking a job for which you're really very underqualified, you may use it as your transitional or survival kind of job while you're looking for the right thing to come along. I know that. To some extent, they know that too. So it is a bit of a game to say that they want to know that you're going to stay there. But unless you can demonstrate that you really want this job now, that this is not your survival job, not your transitional job, a deliberate choice. Here's what you bring to this job and why you want this job now. You may not get that opportunity to get hired. even to get further in the interview process. Framing that response is important in your cover letter as well as in your interview questions. And when you're putting together a resume for a job for which you are overqualified, you're going to have to dumb down the resume. And I'm using that word deliberately, almost trying to provoke something. I don't really mean dumbing it down. What I mean is it's that whole idea of emphasizing what you can do for them. So for example, if the job is you've been a manager and this job has no management responsibilities, remove management from that skill set. Don't include the emphasis on all of your activities that were managing, because then it says, yeah, you've done that in the past. You want to continue to go back to that. If you are taking a step back, what you really want to do, if you can, is reframe it as taking a step to the side. Either there's something new that you want to do. This industry is so great. You want to, although the whole idea of work-life balance has become, we know it's important to us. Some hiring managers find it a problem. Okay. But the idea of being able to say, I'm making a deliberate choice. At this point in my career, I know what I enjoy doing, and I know where I want to spend my time. And all of the jobs for which I'm applying are at this same kind of level. Because here's where I really want to focus. Now, you and I know that that doesn't necessarily have to be true, but they want to hear that because it's their way of understanding that you are making a deliberate choice here. Okay. Yes, Laura.
It might also be about the company, maybe, taking a independent contractor kind of role instead of a manager's role, but it's in a company you've always wanted to be in. If you can figure out a way of selling that to them, that I would love to be in this company and this is a great opportunity and I know I have the skills to help you.
Absolutely. In fact, that's one of the reasons that I talk about taking that step to the side. This is a company you've been following for a while. It's one you really want to get into, and you talk about their mission, their goals, and what you can do to help them. And what you want to do is be able to bring your skill set to this particular role. It's the company that's important, their mission that's important, and what you can bring to it. Now, if you're overqualified and the job is not in that management realm anymore, then talking about why you want to be an individual contributor. You can talk about it in the been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Okay. What you really want to do, you've decided that the management is good, but what you really like is being able, especially in a new company, to be able to learn their process and contribute as much as possible, mentoring other people, learning what's going on, building those new skill sets and providing that assistance rather than managing the team. Yes, Laura.
Yeah. And also you can sell yourself as there's going to be a lot less training. I can get, hit the ground running kind of thing.
Absolutely. And that's important in a contractor role, but it's also important in a hiring role. You're bringing your skill set. So there are two different aspects. One is you want this level of the position. You want this position. So that's your motivation. The second is from their standpoint. You can hit the ground running because of everything that you bring. It works to some extent to counter that whole idea of being older. Okay. I'm older. I admit it. Okay. Not going to tell you how old, but I will guess that I'm older than all of you. So the idea is if you are if you're pushing your information out there to what they're looking for, that's the important thing, and focusing it in on that particular role. Now, Kirk mentioned earlier the idea of being older and that age is an issue. and including all of his experience. Don't do that. Whether you're applying for a job at your level, a higher level, or a lower level, you only need 10 to 15 years of actual experience on your resume. If there is anything in prior experience that is important for this job, add another section at the bottom of your resume called additional related experience. And then be selective. If a particular company and or position is important for this new job, list it there under that additional related experience heading, but all you're doing is listing the company name and your job title. No bullets, no dates.
I have a question for that. With underqualified, overqualified, a lot of these places are asking for bachelor's degrees. I don't have one, but it said that 8 years of relative work experience is equivalent to a bachelor's degree.
Correct.
So when they put the requirement, do you say because you have 8 years of experience that you have that equivalent or that you have a bachelor's degree?
I would just avoid it, honestly.
You can try as you might, but
I
know,
will tell you that even though they
I-
say they're looking for a bachelor's degree, Kirk, unless the job is very specific, okay, that a degree is absolutely required, I'm not going to use that as one of my criteria.
well, one of the things I've found is through, let's say, either LinkedIn or any one of the other hiring sites or recruiting sites, they have questionnaires that you have to answer to get through that before you can submit your resume or the application.
If that's
So-
the case, and it says, the job posting says degree or experience, then go ahead and say yes.
Okay.
But
Just wanted
remember,
to know the ethical approach to that.
so here's the one concern and the caveat I'm going to say, is that if that is going to be included as part of the application, an application is a legal document. You cannot lie on an application.
Correct.
So if this is a supplement to the application, then maybe. The other thing that I would question is whether or not, when you're doing that and you're getting those screening questions, are you applying directly on the company website or through something else?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
When you're getting those screening questions, are you applying directly on the company website or through another site?
It's usually through let's say LinkedIn, for example.
Okay,
You'll click on apply now, you go there and it has like 4 questions
okay.
that they have
So-
listed as like the requirements. Do you have a bachelor's degree? Do you have experience in this? Do you have experience in that or something like that?
Okay,
And then once you do that, it can be a redirect to the company's website where you might fill it in there.
okay. So 2 things. Never, ever use just apply now through LinkedIn, period.
Okay.
Okay. Number 2, your best bet, whether you see the job on LinkedIn, Indeed, any other site at all, go directly to the company website and apply there. Find the job wherever you find it, but go to the company website to apply.
Okay.
There are the reasons for that. When you apply directly on the company website, as a recruiter, I'm going to get an email. X number of people applied, go take a look. It will also get to that recruiter faster than if you apply through any outside site. We're finding the latest research is telling us that it can take anywhere from 24 hours to a full week before the resumes go from an outside site to the inside database. Don't waste that time.
Okay.
Mary.
So is that true even if
Thanks for
the
that.
LinkedIn link takes you to the company website?
I would directly go to the company website. The reason for looking at LinkedIn is not only to find those good jobs, but also to see whether you can find those recruiters who might be appropriate. But I would apply directly on the company website.
Thanks, Linda. I just want to say I really appreciate you starting this conversation last week. I think it was when Frank asked a question about applying for jobs when you're overqualified, and I was taking copious notes and was excited to see that this was the topic for today. I think what you just said too, well, everything you said has been on point, and especially when you mentioned, that as somebody that has more experience, you can hit the ground running because of what we're bringing to the table. And I applied for a job last week. I just saw it last week, and it had actually been posted in mid-December. So I was like, oh no, I have to jump on this because it's a good fit with my background. And I included in my cover letter a sentence that I really haven't used that much that said, I'd love the opportunity or appreciate the opportunity to talk about how I would contribute from the get-go. So similar to the language that you just said. And I got a response yesterday, and the hiring manager said, oh my gosh, are you free to talk on Thursday? I know this is really short notice, but we would like to talk to candidates this week. And I kind of feel like I maybe, slid in that way with adding that sentence. So thank you for your advice on this.
You're very welcome. Okay, and congratulations on the interview. People read those cover letters. Okay, I know there's a lot of controversy about them, and I'm not going to tell you that everybody reads them. I will tell you that for those of us who do, it can absolutely make the difference between whether or not I call you or I don't. Okay. Mark.
Hey, good morning. On the easy apply, excuse me, piece, I'm noticing a lot of the easy applies either don't have a contact or an employer name or directly connected to like a recruiter, and they don't post the individual name of the recruiter, and then you try and look through the recruiting agency to see if you could possibly find that job, but that's kind of going down through a rabbit hole. So I guess is the advice there just to do the best you can to try and find the role and use the easy apply? Is there some other way around that I'm not thinking of?
So my advice, Mark, is not to use easy apply.
Okay.
Period. Okay. Go directly to the company website. One of the other things we're finding, and one of the other reasons that I encourage going directly to the company website, is that we are finding, unfortunately, still a lot of scam jobs out there, as well as a lot of ghost jobs. Now, ghost job could either be a company saying, I want to backfill and I want to make sure that I've got some people in my pipeline, or it could be a job that's posted in effect to tell the stockholders and the board of directors that they're growing. Because the more openings that they have, the more it looks like they're a growing concern. If you go directly to the company website, you'll know whether or not they are actively hiring for that role, because they will post it there. Posting it there, applying on the company website guarantees that your information will go into their database, and you want that. And that's really what an ATS is. It's a database, applicant tracking system. A good company, a good recruiter will check their applicant tracking system database to see whether there's somebody there they may have missed, either for this or future roles. And I will tell you that in my recruiter days, I would say that over 45 to 50% of the roles that I filled, I used and talked to people who did not necessarily apply for my job, but were in that applicant tracking system. I called them because I thought they might be appropriate. So it's important to be able to do that. But the other idea is that if you are applying through the easy apply, it may not get there, but if you're applying directly to the company's website, you know whether or not that is a real active position.
So if the easy apply doesn't have a company posted, is what you're saying, you should be wary of it?
If the position doesn't have a company name, yes, you should be wary of it.
What if it's posted by a recruiting agency?
If it's then go to that recruiting agency website.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, Tiffany. I'm not hearing you. Try it again. Try now. No, can't hear you.
You hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Should we not be searching for jobs through LinkedIn then? I don't always, but I
Oh,
do. Okay, so we should. It's okay.
absolutely. LinkedIn is a great search engine. There are lots of wonderful positions
It's just
posted there.
don't do easy apply.
Don't do easy apply.
Okay.
And
If
part of
it- I was gonna say that the thing is, a lot of recruiters are posting the jobs on LinkedIn and Indeed, and you never really know who the hiring company is. So it's difficult to really source those positions through the company because you never know the identity of them.
so you're right. If it's from an outside recruiting firm, that's true, Kurt. Okay. But you can still, if they are finding out which company they're in. So you may not know which company is actually posting the job, but you'll know which company that recruiter works for.
Right. You can also talk to the recruiter and do a little social engineering and maybe pry the name of the hiring company out of them in casual conversation and then go out to their website and apply directly.
No, I would not do that.
No?
Okay. That's like going into a physical store and getting all the information you need about a product and then sourcing it out cheaper and buying it online from somebody else.
Okay.
Okay. That recruiter only gets paid, outside recruiters only get paid if they make a placement.
Fair enough.
Okay. So I would not do it that way. And
Yeah,
to be honest
it's a
with you,
little,
most recruiters
it's a little sleazy and unethical. Yeah.
yeah, it is. And that's not the way you want to be seen.
Nope.
Okay. Other questions? I know that the chat is very active and I haven't had a chance to take a look at it yet. Yes, Aaron.
Sorry. So I recently applied for a job that literally would have been a perfect fit in my mind. And in searching for a similar cover letter, I realized I applied for this very job 6 months ago. Is there harm in reapplying?
Not at all. If it's been
Okay.
6 months, okay, it could be the position is open again. It could be a new position in that department. You don't know. What I might do, did you get a call the first time?
I did not.
Okay, then what I might do is to rework your resume for that role. But absolutely, it's perfectly fine to reapply for the position.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, I noticed one quick thing. I haven't had a chance to really do a whole lot in the chat yet, and I will. And if I don't get to your question in the chat now, I will answer it in our private group chat. Okay, because I will post the chat there. There are lots of search engines out there to look for jobs. And you will drive yourself nuts if you look at too many of them. I saw somebody mention the idea of ZipRecruiter. I very rarely say, don't go to one of the sites, don't go to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter is really trying to change their image. I probably, even though I'm not an active recruiter any longer, I get hard copy letter from ZipRecruiter probably once a month saying, come post your jobs here, come post your jobs here. They're pushing it that way, but most recruiters are not posting original jobs on that site. Those of you in IT understand what a spider is, right? Where it's pulling information from lots of different sites. ZipRecruiter is primarily a spider. And ZipRecruiter pulls jobs from the web. But if I post my job on LinkedIn today, or on my company website today, and I'm allowing organizations to pull it in, Indeed may see it tomorrow. Glassdoor may see it in 3 days. ZipRecruiter may see it in 2 weeks. Many of the jobs Zip is posting are still those jobs that have already expired. And one of the other problems with ZipRecruiter is that their cookies are so incredibly strong that if you click on a job that says ZipRecruiter, it will probably start sending you email. And a lot of those will also be for jobs that have expired or are not in your wheelhouse. So a couple of you also say something about posting your resume someplace. Posting your resume in some places may give you some added visibility. That's true. But it doesn't give you the opportunity to customize a resume for the job you're looking for. If you're posting a resume, it has to be a generic one. There are still too many recruiters who are going to all those posted resumes and are sending you opportunities that are not necessarily the right fit. A lot of them are insurance sales, franchise, right? Multi-level marketing. I'm sorry, I'm only speaking from my own experience. But you'll get a lot of that kind of stuff going on too. So if you want to post your resume, be very selective about where you're doing it. Career Builder, Monster, I saw somebody talking about. Those sites are honestly not used that much any longer. In the last 4 years as a recruiter, I didn't even go to those sites, either to post or to look for people. Now, that may have changed over the last couple of years because I've been out of active recruiting roles, but most recruiters are using LinkedIn. They may use a specialized site like Dice for IT-related jobs. They may use specialized sites for nonprofit-related jobs. If there are jobs specific or boards specifically in your field, I'm going to go to those. But otherwise, it is to some extent up to you to try and figure out how to position yourself so that I want to talk to you and to make yourself available. So your specific resume is important. Don't ever, by the way, please don't post your resume on LinkedIn as part of your profile. Don't do that. Okay. You want to be able to control the situation. By the same token, making sure that your LinkedIn profile is up to date, is using what I've heard some people call LinkedIn market value terms, keywords. You want to be able to be found that way, but you want to be able to push your information out for the jobs you want in a different way. Okay. I think, Christina, you were next.
Yeah, just going back to the theme of this meeting about being underqualified, overqualified. I had an interview on Monday for a job. I'm looking to pivot to project management from marketing. So I am targeting those maybe lower level jobs than that I'm, underqualified for. But I love the job. The interview went great. My only, I guess, question or concern is that pushing me back in my career? I do have a lot of management experience. What is that going to put me going forward, I guess?
So it's a question of what's important to you and how you want to position yourself. This is a step sideways. Okay. No, very few careers any longer have a straight line progression. Okay. You might look at them like this, right? Lots of twists and turns, and that's okay. It's really your decision about where you want to go in your own career. Nobody's going to judge you if you don't. You just have to be able to have your story ready. So by going from a management level job to a project management level job, what you're really doing is trying to build on a new set of skills to move your career in a different direction. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Is it Elena? Alana?
Yelena, this is a Russian name.
Thank you.
Okay, I have screening interview tomorrow with the company I really like, and the only thing I could get from the LinkedIn about the person that interviewing me that she's a recruiter. and she is listed like as partner. I'm wondering, is it okay to ask her if she actually works for the company or she's recruiting for the company?
You should be able to tell the company name from her profile.
Oh yes, that's the company. It's Stryker. That's company that is very top of my list. That's where I want to be. And she lists as Stryker, but a partner.
So I would read her profile, see what her
That's
experience.
what her profile says.
So if her profile says she works for Stryker, then she works for Stryker. But you can
Okay.
ask her to tell you more about her job. How did she get to Stryker?
Oh, thank you.
Okay. And that's a great way of doing it. It's not saying calling her out. Are you really an internal recruiter? But, tell me a little bit about you. Why did you choose to work for Stryker? What have been your challenges? What growth have you seen?
Any other questions you would recommend for screening interview? Oh, for me to ask.
I understand. And that probably is one that we can do in a separate lunch and learn, because there are so many different kinds of questions that you can ask, including Joe's, tell me why the position is open. Okay.
Well,
Okay.
you said that if she's working for the company, maybe I should not be asking that question, right?
No, you can, but the question too is, remember, whatever questions you ask, also say something about you.
Of course.
So your best bet, especially early in the process, unless you're, again, outside recruiter, you want to ask questions that demonstrate more about the job than about you. Asking why the position is open, if we're going back to that question, depending upon how you phrase it, is more about you from Joe's standpoint of, I want to know whether I'm going to get laid off quickly. Okay. As opposed to, tell me more about the company growth and where you see things going. What are the challenges y'all are facing?
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. I just realized that I haven't put my information in the chat. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to start with the link to join our private group. I'm going to turn off the recording, by the way.